Hey guys, thanks for joining me for a Course in Miracles summary for Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is called The Illusion of the Ego. And again, there are 7 subsections here. Let's go into the paragraph summary for Chapter 4. So this chapter dives deeper into the nature of the ego, showing how it operates through fear, conflict, and illusion. The ego's goal is to keep us feeling separate, guilty, and afraid, so we never return to God. Jesus invites us to become aware of the ego without judgment and to choose the Holy Spirit instead. The Holy Spirit's guidance leads us to peace, healing, and truth. So the ego is such a big topic in this book, and it can be a little confusing for some people. And the way I like to look at the ego is I look at it as the thought process that is more of a raw nature, like wild in nature, sort of like our natural instincts. And the ego is the self-identification and labeling of the self, but it also contributes to the survival of the body, of our physical body. But it may not be in our best interest to continually think that way. Once we've conquered the ability to survive, that thought process may be obsolete. And I found is obsolete because ultimately, yes, it can keep you alive for a short period of time, but it's not in alignment with the nature of reality and the purpose for you being here. And it's an obsolete way of thinking, in my opinion. So let's go into the 5 key takeaways for Chapter 4. The ego is suspicious at best and vicious at worst. The ego may seem like it's protecting you, but its ultimate goal is self-destruction. It keeps you trapped in cycles of conflict, guilt, and suffering. So the ego here, we have to be very careful. Our natural instinct, our natural thoughts, the ego arises just through our natural thought, and it seems like our thoughts. It's trying to protect you, or it seems like it's trying to protect you in terms of keeping you separate from other people. Oh, those people are dangerous, I'm not like them. Or trying to make you contort yourself to be more like someone who you think is someone worth being, that's influential, or someone that can help you in your life. But ultimately, it traps you in cycles of guilt, conflict, and suffering. What you'll find is if you follow the ego's guidance, that will be the result. So key takeaway number 2, you are not responsible for the ego, but you were responsible for choosing to believe in it. God did not create the ego, you did, but you can choose again and no longer identify with it. This is a key step in healing. So through my healing process, what I've noticed is if you follow the ego's thought process, it will lead to suffering, and it could be at the level of the mind or the level of physical reality. And so if you want the true root healing, it's to stop thinking in the process of the ego. And the hard part there is you have the responsibility to change the thought process, and no one else can do it for you. And that's ultimately the reason why only you can heal yourself. I can't go into your body and change how you think, or into your brain, and you have to do it for yourself. No one else can do it for you. Even Jesus showing up, all he can do is present you ideas and a situation that may change your thought process, but my opinion is he can't physically just instantly, miraculously heal you, or that's not the purpose of these teachings and his teachings. Number 3, the ego speaks first and loudest. The ego often rushes in with fear-based thinking, making it feel urgent or real. The Holy Spirit's voice is quiet but consistent, always offering peace. So number 3 here, this is really interesting in terms of reactivity. And if you'll notice, at least I noticed when I was sick, I had a lot of reactivity, anger, or fear, and that kind of overrides a more consistent thought process and emotional process. It just overrides your body into this state of fight or flight, and you may make decisions that aren't in your best interest and when you're in that state, and it's not productive to you. So you just always be aware of if a situation happens and you all of a sudden get scared, or you feel like it's urgent or worried or angry, even if you can't do it in the moment, take a minute afterwards, the next day, that evening, to look at that situation and see where that might have been an ego-based reaction, see where you might have been trying to get something out of that situation. And maybe the outcome could have been different if you were looking at it from the perspective of love. Okay, number 4. Your will is free and it cannot be destroyed. Even though the ego clouds your awareness, your true truth will always remain aligned with God. You can choose love at any moment. Yeah, so it's just saying you have a free will to choose at all times, and that can be difficult for people to understand, like the choice of free will. But that's what gives us the ability, and that's why we are the creators of our reality, to choose the free will to think how we want to think, believe what we want to believe, and choose that we don't have to believe what the ego wants us to believe. We can choose what we want to believe at any moment. And Jesus is suggesting that love is the optimum choice in any moment. Number 5, the Holy Spirit is the answer to the ego. This is the most important point. The Holy Spirit is the gentle guide within, offering the correction to every error the ego makes. By listening to this voice, you awaken to your true self and undo the illusion of separation. So this is the most important point of the chapter. I mean, they're all important, but it really is suggesting that to understand there's more than the ego and to get out of that mindset, we do need the Holy Spirit to lift us out of it by understanding that there's another way to think and learning how that may be beneficial to us. And it's not like out of an obligation. We just have to do it because if we don't, X will happen or Y will happen or whatever. It's actually in our best interest in a day-to-day basis to be connected and think in guidance with the Holy Spirit, because it will help every decision. It'll help you see the world not as a frightened individual, as a scared individual in a fight and flight state, which will then bring you more peace and less stress, which will ultimately bring healing to the body. So those are the 5 takeaways for chapter 4. And here are now my favorite quotes from the chapter. Lots of great ones here, so I'll get right into it. Change is always fearful to the separated because they cannot conceive of it as a move towards healing the separation. They always perceive it as a move towards further separation because the separation was their first experience of change. Sacrifice is a notion totally unknown to God. It arises solely from fear, and frightened people can be vicious. Sacrificing in any way is a violation of my injunction that you should be merciful even as your Father in heaven is merciful. So there's kind of 2 points there. It's talking about change, and this is the hardest part about healing, is to understand or take the responsibility that you may need to change. It's not everybody else that needs to change or the world that needs to change. It's, if you think of it this way, you've built relationships with everything in your life. You have a relationship with, your parents, your friends, your the people at the grocery store, your vehicle, your house, your bike, or whatever it might be, and you've made the meaning of that relationship. And And so if you want change to happen, you have to change. And that's really difficult because it's saying you might perceive that as being a negative thing. And then the second point is talking about sacrifice. And the sacrifice is saying it's totally a notion totally unknown to God. It arises from fear. Frightened people can be vicious. So my understanding of sacrifice is typically sacrifice is done to get something in return. And you can see it from like a very purely physical perspective. Like back in the day, they would sacrifice a sheep or something and hope it would rain or whatever the case may be and give them blessings. But if we live in a fully abundant and loving universe, that's not necessary, and you're causing hurt and pain when it's not needed. And you're trying to do it to get something in return. So ultimately you are trying to manipulate somebody or something or the situation to get what you want. And that's not how this universe works, in my opinion. Okay, next quote here. My lesson was like yours. This is Jesus talking. My lesson was like yours, and because I learned it, I can teach it. Innocence is wisdom because it is unaware of evil, and evil does not exist. Okay, so my lesson was like yours, and because I learned it, I can teach it. I just think that is so profound because Jesus is saying that he's gone through this ACIM experience of moving from maybe ego-based thinking to love-based thinking in the end. Because he's gone through it, he feels capable to teach it. And in my experience in life, those are the people that I want to learn from, people who have actually gone through it, not people who read about it and research about it and then talk about it. I want to hear from people who have actually had the experience. And actually this goes directly into like healing in terms of like the medical system, conventional medical system. As I mentioned before, I have had ulcerative colitis, and a lot of the doctors I went to never had ulcerative colitis or a stomach issue, and they've obviously researched it and studied it a fair amount, but there is some part of the experience there is some part of the knowledge where you need to experience to fully understand it, in my opinion. And because they didn't experience it, they didn't understand the suffering, they didn't understand the concern, they didn't understand where the patient was coming from, in my opinion. And it would have been a great benefit to me to have a teacher that had gone through it and maybe came out the other side and they could truly understand your experience. Another great example would be the experience of children. If you don't have your own children, you really don't know what it's like to have kids. No offense. It's just a different experience. You can kind of think you understand and know, and you do to a certain degree, but most of you parents know out there, it's a different experience actually having the children and taking care of them 24/7. It puts you in a different position of perspective about children and than somebody who may not have had them. So experience is really important. Okay, next quote. Every good teacher hopes to give his student so much of his own learning that he will one day no longer need him. This is the one true goal of the teacher. It is impossible to convince the ego of this because it goes against all of its own laws. Yet this vision can be perceived only by the truly innocent, because their hearts are pure. The innocent defend true perception instead of defending themselves against it. I just thought it was a great quote by Jesus saying, that should be the goal of all teachers, is to make yourself obsolete, no longer needed. If you're a great teacher, eventually that would be the case. If you continually need that teacher, need somebody to be holding your hand, I don't know if that's, maybe the teacher is not completing their job, is what Jesus is suggesting. So a goal to keep in mind here. The next one here is, God is not the author of fear, you are. I thought that's such a powerful small little sentence, but it's just suggesting that God never created fear. God didn't create the negative things. In my opinion, God is unconditional love, and so you created fear because it's a perception. It's not actually true. There's no real thing called fear. There's no object of fear or actual fear. It's just a perception of the events that are in front of you or behind you, and It's an illusion. It's not real. Okay, next quote. When you associate giving with sacrifice, you give only because you believe that somehow you're getting something better, and can therefore do without the thing you give. Giving to get is an inescapable law of the ego, which always evaluates itself in relation to other egos. It is therefore continually preoccupied with the belief in scarcity that gave a rise to it. So this is a great example, and I've struggled with this in my life, in the fact that you think sacrifice is going to get you something, somehow get you something better. So you're willing to give up something to get something better. And that's the law of the ego in terms of like thinking there's lack in the world. Like, I have to give something to get something, and there's always this exchange happening. And there's no abundance there, is there? And really, how selfish is that, in a way that you are sacrificing, but it's really a manipulation to get something that you want, that you think is even better than what you gave up. That doesn't seem loving to me. Okay, last few points here. It is hard to understand what the kingdom of heaven is within you really means. The word within is unnecessary. The kingdom of heaven is you. What else did the Creator create? What else but you is his kingdom? So what a powerful statement here. And I even think like the kingdom of heaven is within you is really powerful. But it's crazy that if you take out the word within, the kingdom of heaven is you, adds a little more context, because originally it's saying the kingdom of heaven is within you. And that's really foundational to say that it's not outside of you. It's not in this place up in the sky. It is within you. It's within your perceptions. It's a living concept that lives within you at all times. And the crazier thing is, it actually is you, because the Creator created you. What else is you? But what else but you is his kingdom? Meaning that if the Creator created you, you are part of his kingdom. And so you are the kingdom in a way. You're part of it. Like, if without you, it doesn't exist, right? And so the last part here, I just wanted to reiterate the ego and give you guys some points on tidbits, little points, a little more information from a practical sense, of when you can notice the ego arising in you and how you might be able to identify it. So anytime you have feelings of sadness, it's linked to a lack in you, like your ego thinks you're lacking something. So just take note of that and understand that there is no lack in the universe. There's abundance everywhere, and whatever you're lacking, you're not giving it to yourself. Okay, the second thing would be fear. If you're fearful or feeling fear, it means that you're wanting control, or you're having resistance to reality, what's happening or what could happen. So you're fearful of what may happen in the future, or you're resistant to something that may happen in the future, and it makes you scared, anxious, and act certain ways to avoid this possibility. But the way around this would be to understand that you're not in control of the universe, and so you have to default, or the best thing to do would be to default to God, who is unconditional love, and trust that if he is true unconditional love, that he's got your back and in the best interests of the world, and things are going to happen the way they're meant to happen, and you can't control them anyways. And the last one here is, when you're feeling angry, it's an indication that you have an attachment to an outcome, and usually you use anger to get it. So, for example, if you had the expectation of, I don't know, going golfing today and getting a score of, a great score, and you had all this anticipation and it didn't happen, you might start getting angry, or you might start getting upset because you had an attachment that something was going to happen and it didn't. But we have to understand that We can't control these outcomes. And to get angry about them doesn't change their reality. And we can't control reality. But these are some really, these are the three big emotions that are related to the ego. And to notice when these arise, that it might be your ego taking control and making your perceptions seem certain ways when they're not. And so that's chapter 4 for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me. Much love to y'all. Take care.